well, a very difficult time in many ways for Kevin Hutton throughout the course of the Derby, or particularly from third round night, because Kevin, what should have been one of the nights of your life really, qualifying 2 dogs for the Greyhound Derby quarterfinals, turned into an absolute nightmare, didn't it?
It really was a nightmare, yeah. I mean, we were buzzing. We qualified 2 dogs into the quarterfinals of the English Derby. You know, we come home on a real high, and obviously after about 5 or 10 minutes after coming back, going into the back of the kennels to check round, we seen there was 3 kennel doors open, and further inspection we see all the back fence has been broken into and ripped down, and obviously that's when we knew. So yeah, it was a real tough time then.
How did you feel at that moment when you realised they'd gone?
Your heart just sinks. I mean, I was hoping, you know, maybe one of the girls had left them in the paddock by mistake. But I say when we went out to check the paddocks, it was obvious what had happened. So we just rang the police straight away, and to be fair, they were out pretty quick. But obviously, nothing really could be done at that point. They were already gone. So yeah, very difficult night.
Kevin was already back here, and I was still travelling back from Toaster, because we took 2 vans so that we could give the Derby dogs the bigger cages in the smaller van. And when he said we've been broken into and there's 5 dogs missing, my gut just fell out of myself. My heart just sunk. And then it was a very strenuous 10 minutes back to here. And then the police arrived. I rung everybody I could to just try and help in case they were loose. It was horrible. Really horrible.
And through the whole Derby campaign, you kind of had to live through this.
It was the not knowing and whether they were okay and what was going on.
Frustratingly, you kind of knew the area where the dogs were. You had information on that, but there was just nothing you could do.
No, there wasn't. We had a fair idea where they were, certainly by where 2 or 3 of the dogs were found as well. But very difficult situation. You know, people, even the police, wouldn't go to where we thought they were. So there was very little we could do either, really. And obviously, you've got to try and play things a bit sensibly. You don't want to, you know, anything to be happening in the future either. So it was a really difficult situation. But I think we probably played it right in the end. And so the main thing was just get the dogs back, and we did it.
Kevin was always really confident we'd get them back. And when they started turning up, like, I had 1 each day for 4 days. It was like fantastic getting them back. Yeah, they were a little bit worn in places, but nothing we couldn't manage. And the Osby dog had to spend a day and a half in the vets, and there was a real tricky time. We picked him up the night before the semi-finals for Wildcat, so to have him home and safe and sound was a big relief, which is obviously why the emotions were quite strong then. But when Monkey was still missing, it was just horrible.
And of course, all sorts of thoughts going through your head. You got very emotional one night at Toaster. I think Wildcat put in a performance of his life to qualify for the final, and you broke down. I mean, it was the best and the hardest time of your life, I'm guessing.
That dog gave us everything, and at a time when we really needed it. So.
Now, we've seen all of the dogs here today, and I'm sure the viewers at home will be delighted to see them as well, looking so well, all except for one. We haven't seen Moo Page Lali, and there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah, Moo Page Lali, she was coming up 5 years old anyway, so she virtually reached the end of her career, and once she was returned, you know, fairly safe and sound, it was decided to retire her, and her owner took her straight home, and we get to see her every other week. And she's just been fantastic, settled in brilliantly, and he loves her to bits, so it's a very happy ending, yeah.
Mill Road Susie, also here today. She's one that you were particularly worried about, actually.
Yeah, I was worried if she was let loose, because she can be very nervous with new people. So we were really worried that, you know, someone might spook her and she would just keep running and running. But we were lucky; there was basically not a hair out of place with her. She was the best of all of them. So we were really thankful for that. Yeah, we were quite worried about her.
Ellie Regan Jimmy was gone for a day, didn't come back in too bad condition.
He wasn't too bad. He had a few cut feet. I mean, he was actually, unbeknown to us at the time, he was picked up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the Sunday, so he wasn't actually out that long. But he'd obviously been running on the roads or something, and had some cut pads, and I say it was all superficial, so he come right fairly quick.
Ballymac Osby was probably the worst conditioned dog. You were very worried about him at one point.
He was, yeah. I mean, he was actually the first dog we got back in the kennel, because we collected him on the Sunday evening. But it was a red hot day the Sunday. He's obviously been out all day. I would imagine he's been coursed and just left in the field. And a lovely couple found him. He was actually in a hedge, and they took him back. Luckily they had a kennel in the garden. gave him water and something to eat, and that probably saved his life because he was so badly dehydrated. I mean, I've never seen a dog lose that much weight in 24 hours. It was staggering. And he was straight to the vet, and he was on the drips for a couple of days, and at one point they thought he was touch and go, but thank God he pulled through. He had a big bruise on his back where he'd obviously hit a tree or a post or something. He's a young pup. He's got a great spirit about him, and I think that helped him pull through, and touchwood, he'll go on to be a nice dog.
The one who was missing the longest right the way to the end of the derby and just beyond was Jovial Monk, known as Monkey. I think he has a bigger fan club than DeRota's Wildcat now, but it was heart-wrenching, you know, for everyone in the industry, but of course particularly you and Donna.
It certainly was, yeah. I mean, I think he's probably the most famous dog in the country now. Yeah, I mean, it's just over 2 weeks he was missing. Obviously, as the time goes by, you really do worry. And he was found all the way down in Bournemouth, which was a surprise. But as soon as we got the phone call, we were straight down there, picked him up, and other than dropping a couple of kilos, he wasn't too bad. So that was a great day. We did we cracked a can open and celebrated the derby win and getting all the dogs back that night, because it just didn't feel right with one still missing. But when we got him home safe, that was a great feeling.
And of course with Monkey, heartbreakingly really, you know, I spoke to Donna and she said that it was such a friendly dog that whoever was taking him, he was most likely to kind of keep going back to, and perhaps that's why he was gone the longest.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. He's so laid back, he's so nice, he loves people. He's one of those dogs who would just go with anyone. So and we were fairly sure. We nearly got him about a week before that. We think he was using coursing. He was spotted, we were straight out there, but unbeknown to us at the time, within a few minutes they'd already picked him up and were on the way. But we spent all night looking for him. But yeah, he was just one of those dogs who loved everyone, so that's probably what it is. He just kept going back to them, and they kept him the longest, but thankfully we got there in the end.
I mean, you have 100 dogs here, okay, but I want to emphasise for everyone, I get to spend a lot of time with people like yourself throughout the course of the derby. I'm very lucky, and it massively affected you. And how much did it affect your enjoyment of winning the derby?
Affected it a lot. It just didn't feel right, you know. I mean, obviously it's what I dreamt of since I was a kid. You know, being involved in the sport, the English Derby is what it's all about. You know, what should have been the most special night of our lives just didn't feel quite right, with obviously him being missing. But luckily, you know, 2 days after that we had the great news, and we could start to enjoy it then. But yeah, it obviously soured a very, very special moment, big time.